Hi everyone, so I'm trying to like make some like thinking video or something like that for like this kind of, again, sorry about my chair, but I just kind of feel that kind of pressure because like I wanted to have like the kind of difference of like whatever videos, and instead of like the thinking videos, or I don't quite remember the actual name of it, but it's just like, I guess it's also like called like my thoughts or something like that for individual videos. But then for, yeah, so I just feel like kind of pressure in a way, like I wanted to ramble about something, but like I just feel that kind of pressure for my own self of like, for those thinking videos, I want them to have some kind of like, not be complete whatever like videos, but then again, if you think about like new ideas or whatever, I guess sometimes it can be really like messy or whatever, and I do have a lot of thoughts like that in my head, but like not often do I have like the ability, I guess, to like put them outside of my head or whatever. Even that itself of like inside head, outside head, just sounds a little bit like fake or something, I don't know. Yeah, so I just kind of feel that kind of weird pressure of like trying to, I don't know, it's stupid by itself. So sorry, like I don't like mind saying things like that something is stupid or whatever, because like I don't care. Like okay, this video was not good anyway, so awesome. But I guess I wanted to talk about this in this video, about something like again, like I want to create a kind of space where it's just like, it, you know what I mean, we just talk, it's like whatever. I hope I can talk. I mean, if I wouldn't be able, I guess I would just suggest it. Like, I'm not a free human being, so let's see. Anyway, I just feel like that I'm not a free human being in a lot of different forms. Again, I guess it attaches to like perspectives or whatever, but anyway. Okay. I always struggle with it because like whenever I like make a video or something, I try to like think that there's obviously someone who, like, I fear that there's like people who actually like know everything or something. I just like make a fool of myself by those videos, so I always just kind of try to have that in mind, I guess. Well, whenever life happens the way it happens anyway. Yeah. So I don't know if that's like words you can talk about those sort of things, but okay, well, like one of the things that I don't quite understand is that like, again, like I'm just talking like it doesn't matter, probably everything is wrong. I actually would prefer that everything is wrong, because I just don't even want to be attached to this wrong or right thing anyway. But yeah, I feel like, you know, everyone has, let's talk about it from this perspective, which is, I feel like sometimes I have like different points of view in the form of like looking at life, if that makes sense, or like the philosophy or whatever, I don't know. Like I would think about things about like reality or whatever even before I even know that something like philosophy exists, so it's like part of me feels weird to call it like that. Somehow like it feels like a little bit like, I don't know, like I've been taken away the, you know what I mean, because it was already like done by someone. So for me, like when I was a child, sometimes I would just get a little bit like sad about that or something. Like I was like, okay, cool, other people were doing whatever they were doing and like those days, but like I'm a new human here and I want to have my own like row or something, like just like new ideas, like I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like maybe sometimes it was just like getting like the kind of closure for my brain, if that makes sense. If somebody would already attach like some process of my thoughts or whatever to something that already kind of exists, if that makes sense. Like it would just kind of like close a little bit, like those like thought processes that I would have or something. I'm not sure. But maybe because I was like a child or something, and I don't know really. Yeah, so I don't know what I wanted to talk about in this video. I mean, I kind of know, but like I'm not sure how to quite express it. Maybe like this video could have like this kind of vibe of like a dream or something. Like I don't know. Okay, maybe I'll just like show that side of me that like sometimes show up like in like my life or whatever, that like sometimes I'm just like I wish, I guess, that I wouldn't have it, but like it's like this weird thing, like I don't choose. Anyway, so okay, like this side of me that like it feels like I'm a slave, honestly. And just like that, like, you know, like I would always, this is like something that I would have like when I was like definitely in elementary school and things like that. And I would always like, I just didn't have anyone ever to like talk to, I guess, about something like that. I feel like even if someone would kind of show up, like I would probably be already in a different like headspace or something to even talk about it. I'm not sure. But anyway, like sometimes I would just like feel, so I have that kind of feelings like for a long time, obviously, since it was like since elementary school or something like that. The kind of feeling of like, you know, there I feel like I'm a slave in form of like sometimes my own thoughts just kind of escape sometimes. I feel like this video is gonna be long and all over the place, so but I'm sure that I'm gonna enjoy watching it someday if I'm gonna have the opportunity. So again, it's my chair making sounds, or me making the chair make sounds, I don't know. But I guess I would always kind of feel, I try to get back to that feeling, I guess, and like talk about it. Like I would feel a bit like a slave, but like, and then I would always fear that kind of thing that people would say, like, oh, slaves and like in past or whatever, they had it like this and this, and like they had it difficult, like, you know, the kind of talk that people will get or something, which is not actual conversation, I suppose. I don't know, at least how I would see that. But I don't know, like I would always kind of, why would I feel like that? Well, I guess like maybe because like like I would feel like I wouldn't be like, if okay, maybe something like that, like if I would like start doing, and again, in case I'm kind of more talking a little bit from like the perspective of like a child or something, like if I would start like, or I like do things like the way that I wanted to, not like other people do or something, like I wouldn't have a chance of surviving. Right? So just within that self, it sounds so depressing, but maybe this is one of the reasons why people are actually depressed. It's just like a lot of covered emotions, and like the actual root of it all is just like some very, in a way, simple thing, but like not simple because of like the rules or whatever. Okay, but like I lost it, like when I said like that I feel like slave, I just kind of lost that track, so I'm just kind of trying to like kind of remember, but like maybe I feel like kind of a slave in a way that like maybe because like my creative side is like kind of upset in form of like I feel like everything is created already, and it's like in a way it's like, okay, cool, like, you know, obviously people, but it's like that's the thing, like I understand like people like obviously had it worse in the past and things like that, and it's, but again, like it's all like based already on something of certain perspective of what life is itself, and I always wanted to keep that freedom to have that kind of space to like not knowing, I guess. And I feel like a lot of things that people do are based on some kind of form of like what life is. And maybe I feel like this is one of like the things that would make me sad over time more and more. Maybe not all the people kind of give you that kind of vibe, I don't know. But like I just always would like lose that kind of, I guess, vibe of like what life is or whatever, which was a lot of times my favorite thing to kind of think about or whatever. And I feel like a lot of like things like people are talking about or whatever, posts being in hurry and things like that, are already based on certain like perspective of reality. And I would just like, but I want to have that freedom, and then nobody really knows, right? But then like if you ask somebody directly, like I guess like what life is or whatever, like nobody knows or whatever, right? Like hypothetically, right, in this like situation or whatever. But then again, like the decisions and actions and things like that that people do are obviously based on some kind of perception of reality. And I wish that it was like kind of resurfaced, if that makes sense. And just like all the kind of attachments and things like that be taken away from. I guess that's why maybe I just feel like a lot of like things like that within me are kind of like that like I don't know, like sometimes I maybe don't want to go outside, or like I don't want to like deal with certain people, things like that, because like I know that they don't understand like my like perspective or whatever. But there's like no like social form of like explaining that or something. And then we also like have some kind of like emotions around that kind of subject or something, and it's just like a lot of like those things. Yeah, anyway, so I guess like I kind of missed that whole concept that I had in the beginning, I suppose. I just feel like everything is kind of based on like, okay, like you know, like, and I don't want to be like rude or whatever, but also like just like the end of like being called rude or whatever just like comes from certain, like I just had, I guess, like as a child, okay, it comes from like some perspective of reality, and I feel like I had like my own kind of specific perspective when I was like younger. Then I guess I would just kind of lose it, and I don't know, like it would be just kind of fluid or whatever. But like overall, I just like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I wish I could live in a world where everything is different, or just like be given that kind of freedom to me and the kind of space to have that kind of freedom and create or something. Like I just, for whatever reason, I feel like I cannot have that. And just like even the idea that like everyone is like born in like countries and things like that, things that, again, assuming that history and everything is true, what I'm like talking about, by the way, like right now, it just comes from like certain perspectives. Sometimes I would have like completely different perspective or thought processes that completely kind of denies what I'm kind of saying right now. So just like make that kind of clear, if that makes sense. But like even the idea, I guess, of like the fact of like the countries that you're born into it. I never wanted to be rude or anything like that. You know, again, like that word within itself, like, oh, rude or whatever. I don't know, always felt kind of disconnected or whatever. I don't know. What I'm trying to say is like I never quite feel kind of connected, like, okay, like I'm born into this country or whatever. That sounds, but that's like the thing that I also don't like, because like the only kind of thing that kind of stops me right now is like the idea that like being scared that somebody's gonna like jump like on me and be like, oh, like you're disrespectful, this and that. And again, like, but I want to talk. I guess I find the most interesting those conversations that don't really kind of happen, or they happen but like they're not like public or whatever, or like they just happen whatever. And then like publicly or socially, things just happen in a different way. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, I keep forgetting things I want to say, but, like, I guess what, if you're still, like, with me in this video, like, wow. But yeah, I can, like, that I like those conversations that, like, are the kind of conversations, like, usually someone would be, like, right away offended, or be like, oh, you're disrespectful because you did do this and that or whatever, right? And I just, because this is when that's not even a conversation, you know what I mean? But, like, I want to have a conversation about that subject, or, you know what I mean? I always, like, appreciate people who do that and, like, share that. Like, I feel like I need that sometimes, actually, to live. That makes sense. But yeah, anyway, so I guess, like, is it just like my surroundings, or is it still kind of like that, like, certain subjects are just, like, not being able, and in a way that's, like, not being able to talk about something, but it's like in a way, I guess, that kind of, like, freedom of, like, talking or expressing yourself, but, like, in that unobvious way or whatever, where it's like, you know what I mean, it's not a right in a language, I guess, spoken, but, like, on an emotional level, you're just kind of blocked, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. But again, like, about, like, this country or whatever, when I was, like, younger, I keep missing it, or, like, I'm sorry, it's just, like, my memory or whatever. But, like, for those countries, for example, like, I never, like, ordered those things that already been, like, kind of created, if that makes sense. Like, I feel in a way like some form of me always felt kind of in a way as a slave, in that sense of, like, that I have to be attached to it. I was born and I heard that I'm, like, from this country or whatever, but, like, I never quite felt it, if that makes sense. I don't know how to express it. And I would always, I guess, just somehow kind of, like, hope that in the future that's not gonna quite, like, affect my life or whatever. It sounds so silly, I don't know. But, like, yeah, like, I don't know, I was just, like, born within, like, this body, had this body, right? It just gave me, and again, like, I didn't, I guess there's also, like, times when I didn't even quite feel like I am, like, the body or whatever. I just felt like everything, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how to describe that, but even just, like, the idea of, like, being attached to, like, your body, whatever. But, like, okay, but, like, I am here, like, I woke up, like, one day or whatever, right, and I have this body, right, whatever, that would always give me, and I would see other people have their own bodies, right? So I just always, I guess, feel that kind of unfairness of, like, okay, well, but my body gives me signals that it's, like, not right to feel connected to the idea that is being brought to me from other people about, like, you know, like, that I'm attached to this country or whatever. Just even those concepts about countries or whatever, right? Like, that used to, in some way, I guess, not exist. So that within itself, the fact that, like, it's man-made, if that makes sense, just made me feel a little bit like slave, like, you know what I mean? And again, like, people would always say, like, oh, but that's tradition and this and that, and they would always have their own form of, like, you know, kind of accepting that or whatever. But, like, I just always felt that kind of unfairness of, like, you know, I was born with that body, and my body gives me the kind of feelings of, like, that it's wrong to feel. I mean, I'm talking about, like, when I was, like, elementary school or whatever, things like that. Maybe I don't quite, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to, like, attach to that time in my life. So I would just, like, always feel that kind of, like I don't feel like that, if that makes sense. Like, even though everyone, and I would always feel, like, kind of unfairness, because, like, okay, well, everyone is, like, having, you know, talking from that perspective about, like, life. Everyone has their own, like, I guess, body or whatever, right, been given or whatever. Also, like, still not knowing what this life is or whatever, you know what I mean? And so from that kind of perspective or whatever, I would just feel unfairness was like, okay, well, I'm given this body, other people are given their own like bodies or whatever. So I guess I would always kind of feel that it's like smart if just, I guess everyone just kind of, since everyone by this force or whatever that nobody quite knows, people call it like it's God or whatever they call women just kind of hear or whatever, right? Just like that idea itself that like nobody knows quite well, and the fact that everything is just like so like attached and just like being like so kind of pushed hard on like people to like believe in, even though I guess like I assume that anyone with like common sense or whatever would still kind of say that like we still don't know what life is or whatever, but like I don't know. So I don't know. I'm just really trying hard to like express like what I'm trying to express, which I don't know, like I literally kind of go freestyle here. I don't know if anyone can like understand that, but okay, so I was always kind of feeling, I guess, going back to like how I would feel in elementary school or whatever, like I felt that unfairness. Okay, other people in past, they've been given their own bodies or whatever, right? And they are living according to the needs of the body that they will be given, right, in this life. But I always felt like that's taken away from me. And it was this always kind of weird thing where like, well, but we, you know, like I have like this privilege of like, like I live at home because, again, assuming the histories where like sometimes I feel still like maybe this is all simulation or whatever. But again, like from this standpoint, I'm sorry, I'm just so annoying. But again, assuming in this video, talking about that standpoint of view of life, right? So people would like live according to whatever their bodies at that time needed, and I always felt that that's taken away from me, and I always, I guess, in that form kind of felt in a way like a slave in that sense. I never knew like where I could like reach for help or things like that. I would just, I don't know, but yeah, it's just like I would assume that it's like so simple, such a simple thought, right? Like people in past would live according to whatever they needed. But now the people that are like newborn or whatever, like newer like people or whatever, right? That would be born after, right? Those people, that makes sense. I felt like they wouldn't have that kind of like freedom because of like the respect, because of tradition, whatever, right? But I would just still consistently keep feeling kind of more and more pain within my own body whenever somebody would try to like push something like that on me. And I guess that's why I would sometimes like to be more alone, if that makes sense. But I always wanted to be like a people person, if that makes sense. Yeah, anyway, so I just didn't quite understand, like I felt like since everyone is given each body, and we don't know even by who and how and this and that, but we are given, right, each person, each body, I would always kind of feel, well, not always, so, like, like I would feel always like that in like a month or two, and then sometimes I would get like different idea that I don't know, like I didn't quite chose that as well, like just the fact that I didn't even chose to like have this body or whatever, at least I don't consciously remember that. So it's all like the language itself is just like so weird. But and again, I also didn't even create the language that I'm like using right now anyway. But what I'm trying to say is that like I would sometimes think that it would be a smart thing to do, that everyone just kind of like, I guess, listens to like what's good for their own body, if that makes sense. Or maybe people would do it like that, but I always felt the kind of like the idea of like, oh, because it's tradition and this and that, I just always didn't quite felt okay with that. I don't know, like I'm trying like to remember certain like thoughts that I would have in the past, but it's just like I feel like I'm rambling about like nothing really. But yeah, I don't know, like I would just like feel sometimes that people would just like go blindly in that kind of form of like respect, you know, to other people, which obviously, well, it's like a nice thing or whatever, but like not when it's at a cost of you, I would think. I don't know. I'd always feel like if people would do that, that would just create more damage, like right now, for the people who are being consistently born into this reality, if that makes sense. Again, also like people still don't even know everything, and I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess I just like don't like the idea that everything is like so kind of closed in a way. Obviously sometimes like you go through life and you don't feel like that, but sometimes like it just kind of feels like that, I guess. I don't know, I guess I'm just trying to understand like the reality of like living as a human, like right now as a human who was already born into cities that were created. I don't even know if I can say that those cities, the city that I live in was created for me. Like, how could, you know what I mean? Like, in past people have like the kind of freedom of, I don't know if they feel like that, but like, you know, in past people had to create those cities, and this, you know, like this is like operating from completely like different kind of form of like life, if that makes sense. Like, you know, human back then when, you know, there's always like those pros and cons and things like that. Even people like living these days, when they talk about certain moments or times in life, right? But like even the people that already, you know, like are not, you know, like died and everything, that also must have been such a different form of like operating from reality. It's so different, I assume, to like obviously like, you know, live in past where you didn't even have cities and you have to come up with the idea of city and this and that, and now like people are already born into that, and obviously there, I guess, like are positives and minuses for, I don't know, both sides. I don't know, and I just kind of feel sometimes like it's just like this thing of like my chair, of like this pressure of like just respect like what other people like did and just like not think. But like I don't think that's safe to have that kind of perspective, knowing how cruel people can be in the war and things like that. I don't know. This video is getting longer, so I feel like maybe I'll try to like start like some kind of new one and gather better my thoughts. Again, like I don't even I don't know how to explain that in like positive like way, but like I don't know. Okay, so I guess that's all. Yeah, for my how do you call it, like justification or something, like I was like sick not that long ago, like physically, by like a flu or something. I'm still getting like trying to get better, so if it's all that makes sense, maybe I can justify it by that, but it's not actually true because I feel like I'm always like that. So wishing you everything well and goodbye.